All right. Good morning, peoples. Good morning to you.
Good
Hello.
morning out there.
Hello, 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 hello. Hope you're having a great day so far. Um, we've been kind of busy this morning, but it's all good. It's beautiful here in the Carolinas. I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. And let's see who's here. Brother Dixon. Brother Dixon is here. James Dixon is here.
Dr. James.
James came in early. He always comes in early. And then there's my sissy and brother-in-law. Hey, y'all. And
I don't know them, do I?
there's Dee Dee and George.
I know George Jr.
And there's CJ. Hey, CJ.
C.J. Johnson.
And there's Vern. Hey, Verndi. Coming back from Florida. She had a trip. She had a nice trip this week past. John Grease is in the house. There's
Dr. John.
Sandra. Hey, Sandra. There's Brother
Sandra.
Blue in the family.
Blue.
Jill, how you doing with that grandbaby? Hey, Phyllis and Edward. There's my sweetheart, Judy Jew. I was thinking about you this morning, Judy. Glad you're here with us. Hey, Sinette, all the way from Denmark. She said, sunny Denmark. Yeah, she said, hope everyone is fine. I'm okay this morning. You okay this morning? We hadn't talked a whole lot.
No.
Yeah, because you've been kind of busy doing this and that and the other. Hey, Leslie in Pittsburgh, and
Appreciate you sending me the gift, Leslie.
and then there's Kim, hey Kim, and Brother Kessler. Hope you guys are doing well. I put up here today lesson number 189 from the Course in Miracles. Just wanted to mention that to you. I know we've done it, I think, once before. I've shown you this once before. But it's worth hearing and worth doing. And it's called Simply Do This. And it says, be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. All concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought that the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with holy, empty hands unto your God. I thought that was really, really good.
Boy.
Let me know what you think about that. I think that's a good surrender prayer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good surrender prayer and worth meditating on, spending time meditating on that.
Mm-hmm.
You got your book in the mail today.
Yeah.
It's called, let's see if I can put it where they can see it. The End of Your World by Adi Ashanti. Very, very good. Very, very good. And Judy's familiar with the course, so she said she loves this lesson. Come holy, empty hands unto your God. Yes, yes, yes. And I think this is a very interesting book that you got. Well, I think we have this book.
Yeah,
but my remembrance of it was a little bit different. I was thinking it was a smaller book. Yeah. So I'm wondering, did we actually have it?
We did.
I think we do have this somewhere here in the house. Looked everywhere in all of our books, but of course, when your eyes are holding and you think something looks a certain way, that's what you expect how you expect to see it. And so probably looked right over it because of that. But it's got some good stuff in it. I want to read something if you don't mind. You don't mind, do you? Okay. And let us know if you're hearing and seeing us clearly. I assume you are. Hearing and seeing us clearly because you haven't complained about it. This reading out of this book, The End of Your World by Adi Ashanti, it's a small chapter that talks about the awakening, and its awakening is not what you imagine it to be. And I'm going to read just a little bit of it, and we can stop periodically and discuss if you want. It says, awakening is not what you imagine it to be. In a very real sense, it is much more accurate to talk about what we lose upon awakening rather than what we gain. We not only lose ourselves, who we thought we were, but we also lose our entire perception of the world. And I'm reminded of the scripture where Jesus says to take up your cross and follow me, and whosoever loses himself will gain. And that made me think of it when he said that. He said, so we also lose our entire perception of the world. Separation is only a perception. In fact, when it comes to our world, there is nothing but perception. Are you listening? No, you're not listening. I can tell you're not listening.
Yeah, I heard you.
So while he said, your world is not your world, it is only your perception.
Yeah.
So while it may seem negative at first, I think it's much more useful to talk about spiritual awakening in terms of what we lose, what we awaken from.
Okay.
What we awaken from, not awaken to. This means we're talking about the dissolution of the image we have of ourselves. And it's this dismantling of who we thought we were that is so startling when one wakes up. And you say, what are you thinking? What are you thinking?
I'm looking.
Let me know what you're thinking. And Jill's bringing this back. It's dying before the physical death. Yes. It's dying before you die. As a matter of fact, I was reading out of this little book last night. It's called Know Yourself. Know Yourself. I'm not sure who the author is or what his name is, and I don't think they know either. But he mentions that in here about dying to who you are, die before you die. Yeah. So I may read a little bit of that later, but I won't read it right now. But anyway, yes, it's dying before the physical death. And it's the dissolution of the egoic identity, the concept you have of yourself. Not so much, it isn't necessarily the dying of an ego as an entity, but it's the dying of the concept you have of yourself, which is what ego is. Yeah.
Everybody has to deal with that in this dimension.
Then it says this. All right. This means we're talking about the dissolution of the image we have of ourselves and its dismantling of who we thought we were that is so startling when one wakes up. And it is indeed startling. It's not what we think it's going to be like at all. That's where the thing is. I think a lot of us have had I'll say I had that misconception. The misconception that waking up was going to bring me all this joy and bliss, and it did not happen that way. Now I can say there was a sense of peace and a sense of contentment, but my concept was all of a sudden I was going to be just happy about everything. And that was a misconception, and I know that now. It says, and it is indeed startling. It's not what we think it's going to be like at all. I've never had a single student come back and say, I peered through the veil of separation, and it's pretty much what I thought it would be. It measures up pretty closely to what I've been told. Usually students come back and say, this is nothing like what I imagined. This is especially interesting since many of the people I teach have been studying spirituality for many years, and they often have intricate ideas about what awakening is going to be like. When it happens, it is always different from their expectations. In many ways, it's grander, but also in many ways, it's simpler. In truth, if it is to be true and real, awakening must be different from what we imagine it to be. This is because all of our imaginings about awakening are happening within the paradigm of a dream state. It is not possible to imagine something outside of the dream state when our consciousness is still within it. Oh, that's good there. That's good. That's good. Let's see what they're saying here. Let's see what you guys are saying. Sinette says, awaken from our conditioned identity, born awaken, falling to sleep, growing up and born again, releasing our conditions. Yeah, it's waking up out of the conditionings, and the conditionings is the lens that we look through, and it's waking up from that, and that's is maybe for some, maybe an instantaneous thing once and for all, but for for the majority of us, that's a day-to-day progression, isn't it? Kim says, sending love and strength and prayers to you and your family. Oh, she's talking to somebody else. Okay, here we go. Man of the universe, but resurrection comes next. Judy Ju says, unselfing, disidentifying from who we think we are as a person in time and space. Yes, yes. Unselfing. I like that word. Unselfing from who we think we are as a person in time and space. Yeah. That's one to contemplate on. That's good. That's good. Sinette says, expression ourself in life, being ourself without filters, living life. Yes. Just simply being the expression of God in the earth, the manifestation of God in the earth, without religious uh, intentions, or without religious garb and garments. Is just simply being the expression. Your life is the expression and the manifestation of God without you even trying to be that, without deliberately trying to be that expression. I hope that made sense. Now, what you got on your plate? Because you look, you're on a whole different vein right now.
I'm there. Before we got out of the brick and mortar, I can look back now and tell there were times when talking like we are now became a very struggle and an effort. So a lot of times I was more comfortable with standing in front of them, just looking at them and not saying anything for hours. But I knew that because they were still in their mind, the left brain of reasoning, making sense, why I came here. I want to hear something. I want to feel something. I want the Spirit of God to show me something. I want the anointing and all that kind of stuff. When I found out, I was telling my therapist yesterday, there was a man named Stanley Coates. Remember?
I do remember that, yeah.
And he had a long prayer line. He was praying for people to be healed. But it was something unusual about this last time that I studied about him. He was standing in front of everybody, and he wouldn't say or speak to the problem. He would just grunt.
Because someone said that he was using auto-suggestion.
Yeah, that's what
I remember that. And to get miracles done by him doing the auto-suggestion, people they believed that, and that's what happened. But that's why he decided to just grunt.
So he did.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened without him saying anything. And that's the reason why when we run into this information about stillness speaks. So I told my therapist yesterday about Stanley Coates, and his presence will do everything that we fast and pray for, seek God for, read and study for. That's not to put down the books and the reading, but if there must be a revelation insight that regardless of what we say online or regardless of what we say, we talk like all sages. There is a personal side of seeing
Mm,
what we're
mm,
discussing in these classes that does not come with words spoken.
yeah.
And then we also taught during those days that the spoken word is what God used to create the universe.
Right.
And so what
Right.
we do, we go in the Bible, we go in the course, and we'll find or we'll listen to those that talk, and we will say what they said,
Yeah.
repeating it, because that's where the ego want that to be like that.
Well, not only that, that we adopted those methods because the ego wants to change what's happening in its life.
Yeah.
In life is being presented to it. And so it tries to use the spoken word to
Mm-hmm.
speak things into existence or to speak
Yeah.
things out of existence. But all of that is a distraction from really coming to a place of surrendering to what is so that you can actually see who you are.
I looked at the people that were in the therapist lobby. Some was in wheelchairs, some were walking sideways, some were walking with short legs. And the therapist told me, he said, what I was dealing with was nothing in comparison to some of the things that he
Mm.
had already seen.
That's good to know.
Yeah, but he said it's unbelievable as to some of the cases that he have come into his office
Yeah.
and into his business. And when I looked up, I was talking to his wife sitting in the lobby, and this man went past me, checked out, and he could hardly walk across the parking lot. And it rekindled the memory of how that there was a time when I would not let him get past me
Mhm.
without me affirming the healing presence, because I found out how to push it out of me
Okay.
through the suit, like Jesus coming out of the tomb, rolling the stone away. The
Mhm.
stone symbolizes all the ego technique. It symbolizes conditioned cells. The stone that covered the door uh, they were thinking that that stone was there to the entrance, that Jesus couldn't get out,
So
but he did leave his
yeah.
body in the tomb and went somewhere else.
So you learn to push past the impasse.
The impasse. That's right.
Okay.
I don't. But there was a time when I would stand there and look at them, and they wouldn't get past me because I told the therapist that I remember seeing babies that were bow-legged sitting in chairs, and there was a fake side to that because a lot of evangelists use
Yeah, there were a lot of
gimmicks and things
gimmicks.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But what I
But you
did,
saw the real.
yeah, I set
Yeah.
them in a chair and put them back in the chair as far as I could,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't do anything but just stand there a lot of times and wait, or I would hold the baby's leg in a
Mhm.
way that I couldn't move it myself. And those bow legs, I saw them bend and come back straight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he stopped and looked at me, and he like he was in awe. But
You
that,
remember? You remember the service we had back way back when
mhm.
we're in Lexington, North Carolina.
Yeah,
You
that's
remember
what I'm talking
this?
about. Mm-hmm.
And the pastor now, she's no longer living.
Mm-hmm.
I think her name was Goodson. You
Mm-hmm.
were
Miss Lois Goodson. Mm-hmm.
there for a meeting that night,
Mm-hmm.
and you pulled one baby out that had
Mm-hmm.
the bow legs, like you're saying, real
Mm-hmm.
severely bow legs,
Yeah.
I should say,
Mm-hmm.
abnormally bow, and
Mm-hmm.
we actually saw his legs straighten up.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
that happened, you remember all of the children, all of the babies started struggling to get away from their moms to come up front.
Yeah, yeah. Then that
That
happened also
it
in
happened
Asheville
in Asheville,
Mountains.
but
Yeah.
these were
Mm-hmm.
toddlers
Yeah. Yeah.
in Lexington actually
Yeah.
struggling and fighting their moms to get off their laps to try to get in
Yeah.
here to us.
And some of the children up there in Asheville, they got down on the underneath the leg that was short and long one longer, and they wanted to see
Yeah.
if whether I was
Yeah,
pushing the
whether it was
leg
real
or
or
pulling
not.
the leg.
And I remember there was one little girl, a little boy, I can't remember,
Yeah.
which laid up under the
Yeah,
legs
they
and
did.
looked up
Yeah,
at it
looked
like
up.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the pastor denied every
And
bit
the
of it.
pastor was afraid of it.
He
But
didn't.
but all of that happened because of the presence that you're talking
Yeah,
about. When you said
presence. Yeah,
Stanley
yeah.
Coates didn't say a word, it wasn't
Mhm.
the words that did it.
No.
It wasn't anything that did it. It was the presence that did it.
Okay, let's say it like this. It was the final exchange
Hmm. Hmm.
of identity
Yes.
that did it.
And
That's
that
what I
and
wanted to
that doesn't necessarily have to be something on a conscious level.
No. Each one of us,
Hmm.
I see your name up and down the right side of the screen. That's not your real name.
Hmm.
If you go in any book and pick up a listing of names could take you back even 1,000 years of different names, that everybody somewhere on this planet is using the same name
Yeah.
per se,
Yeah.
audibly. When somebody asks you what your name is, you tell them,
Unless
yeah.
they do like our black folk do, they'll
Mhm.
make up a name.
Yeah, yeah. But now, here's my point. These names that we have used in these dimensions are on file in the
Mhm.
archives and the Hall of Records on a dimensional level. But listen to this. None of that is your name, because at the final stage of this thing, at the end of your world or the ego's world, you lose all identity
Yes, yes.
of being a separated one from God. Everything has its place. Being universal and yet individuality is a miracle
Yeah.
of seeing. Seeing.
It is. It
And
is.
when I
It
looked
is.
over this thing and I found out, and this is where the curve is there right now, um, I'm beginning to find out how to run over speed bumps and they not be able to be noted. I'm going to say, metaphorically speaking, I do not feel them in the automobile when it hits the bump. The bump of the speed bump is removed. This is metaphorically now. I'm not talking about physically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place in
You mean the effect of the speed bump
right
is no
on the
longer
vehicle.
fact.
It's I find I find myself bracing myself sometime when I hit one of those speed bumps, because some are higher than others. Metaphorically speaking, and an esoteric truth,
Mm-hmm.
the speed bump is the going back and forth into false identity, real self. False identity, real self.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
therapist asked me, said he is having a time with these dirty pictures in his mind and all the stuff that's been going on between him and his wife. And this therapist told me that he wants to get rid of all stuff that comes up in the marriage and in the relationships. And I told him, I said, they will be there. But I said, what happens is that you transcend them.
Yes. Now, I need to let you know this. Marie says this. Hey, Marie, she says, I am one that you prayed over. My leg was longer on the right side than the left, really longer. I walked really bad. And as you prayed for me, my leg came in. You held both my legs in your hands as I sat in a chair. And today I'm still healed. That's true. And I still testify to that healing today.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you, Marie. Woo. Thank you.
My gracious,
so
girl.
You guys know we're not just talking out the side of our necks.
That's right. That's right.
But yes, but it was presence that did it. And I remember you teaching the rest of us to do this, how to do this. And it wasn't so much how to do the miracle, but was how to still ourselves enough to sense the presence of that movement inside ourselves. And it's a really strange feeling. But it's almost like you can feel growth.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. When I was saying about my therapist about the things that were in his mind that he wanted to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have this constantly in our marriage. If you stay long, married long enough, even with your girlfriend, there's all kinds of thoughts and words you might say that is not, you wouldn't say in public to each other. But
Right.
at the same time, he wanted to find out how to stop this. And I was giving him the formula for that is transcending that and realizing that you're not the one that's doing that. Your real self. Like we sitting here talking, all kinds of stuff going through my head
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
found out how
Yeah.
to settle the case
Mm.
by observation and
Mm.
finding out we have to go all the way in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to that us that is not an illusion
Yes.
and come through it and become fixed in it, your true identity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the
Mm-hmm.
punchline. I told him I could tell him who he was, and I was by present. I looked in his eyes and I told him I could see Jesus in his eyes. When we say I can see Jesus in somebody's eyes, and he showed me how to see him in everybody, we have the ideal that if you see God in me, why do I still have these bad thoughts?
Mm.
Here's another one. If I do away with these thoughts, will that make me perfect? And until I do see and understand that these thoughts are no longer coming through and my mind is quiet, if I do see this, then I am perfect. I'm not perfect until this happened. That is the great
That's
lie.
that's the misconception. Yes. That's the
And
misconception.
we've always taught, here's the brick and mortar. Be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is
Mm-hmm.
take the mind, what the mind does is take itself
Mm-hmm.
through a course in reading a book all the way through from Genesis to Revelation, nonstop, and be able to quote.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can
Mm-hmm.
quote the scriptures of God about every situation that I run into, then I'm perfect. That's not true.
Right.
That's not
Right.
true.
Right.
You are perfect because of who you've always been in essence.
And again, the concept of our like Adyashanti said, our world is simply the perception we have.
That's right.
So our perception of perfect
Mm-hmm.
is now, with the awakening, is being challenged, because that perception is that if it's perfect, there are absolutely no flaws. But if you look at nature, if you look at everything in this world that we consider beautiful, it is not beautiful because there are no flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the most flawed is the one that's beautiful. It's that's
right.
beautiful.
That's right.
So how we label what is beautiful and what is not is coming from our egotistical misconceptions.
I wish that I could open everybody up, zip them open, and let them see their perfect self.
I know.
But
Can I read
yeah,
something?
go ahead.
Because
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned something about the union, the oneness,
Yeah.
the oneness, and that present being locked into that.
Yeah, before we say that, the therapist's wife was saying something about hearing, and she said her ears ring all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the point. It was ringing all the time, but she could still talk with me.
Because she was able to, I'm going to say it like this.
Okay.
She was able to push it in the background.
Yes.
And come forward and
Yes.
leave it back there.
There you go.
And leave it there.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Snet's saying something. I want to make sure I don't miss any of their great comments. She says, being perfect in essence and divine means you are always whole.
That's right.
Healing is seeing you and yourself as whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our perception of perfect has been miscrewed. What's the word I'm looking for?
Miscued.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Did you hear what she said?
That's it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Miscrewed.
I knew it wasn't right, but I couldn't think of what it was. Leave me alone. not gonna you're not gonna let that go, are you? Let's see, we messed up now. Now I can't see.
You all screwed up. Ah, Lord have mercy.
Oh my God. Yeah, thank you, man. University of misconstrued.
Misconstrued.
That's the word. That's the word.
I didn't have nothing to do with it. I did. It wasn't me. She been
Oh, let it go.
She been
I can't
misconstrued.
see. I can't see now. He's not gonna let this go. I can tell. He's not gonna let it go.
Our therapist told us one time that our rocks was rolling in our ears that causes us to keep our balance. And so I looked at him. I said, "I got rocks in there." Crystal like rocks. Okay, go ahead, girl. We'll try it again.
We'll try it. We'll try it. Whew, okay. Don't laugh.
Okay,
Stop.
I'll try. Go ahead.
Okay, you're gonna do it. Don't do that. I'm not gonna be able to do anything else.
I knew it.
Oh, Managing Universe said,
That was a good one.
he
That was a good
said,
one. Okay.
you just proved what you said. If imperfections weren't beautiful, you wouldn't be laughing hysterically. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, oh my gosh. Anyway,
Well, you got it now.
I got stuff in my eyes and everything now. Anyway, all right. In here, it talk about union, and we back in the day, that was our theme message. Our union with Christ, and I call it my Jesus in me days, where I was still in my concept of myself, still separate, but in union with, and so, and as long as I'm in union with, there's still two. So anyway, this was really good when I read it this morning. He said, "What is the way to union when you assert that there is no other than Him?
Mm-hmm.
Yet one thing cannot be united to itself. There is no doubt that in reality, there is neither union nor separation, distance or closeness, since union is only possible between two things. And if there is only one, there can be neither union nor separation. Union requires two things, which are either similar, in which case they are equal, or dissimilar, in which case they are opposites. However, He is exalted far above having any opposite or equal. Therefore, union lies in something other than union, closeness in something other than closeness, and distance in something other than distance. There is union without union, closeness without closeness, and distance without distance."
Wow.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
One day we were riding in the Jeep, and I did something that we had to roll the windows down. And she said, "If you do that again," she said, "I'm going to dial 911 on you. You won't believe." No sooner she said that, the police drove up.
I know.
I said, "Baby, that's too quick. That's too quick."
Laverne always says it.
That's too quick.
Laverne always says, "I'm like I Love Lucy." You say I'm always doing something, and it's true, quick. And it's true, and it keeps everybody laughing. But yeah. But that union when you recognize and you, like you said, seeing, when
Mhm.
you've seen God not as an other, but here as your own self, your own
Yeah,
being,
yeah.
there's no more a union because there's no you left to join to what is all.
Entering into rest does not have anything to do with a feeling.
It doesn't.
Entering into rest, as I heard somebody say, if when the body that has been worshiped
Hmm. Hmm.
on this side
Hmm.
is finished its work and have to be laid to bear over and through a eulogy, if that was all of us, then
All that
everybody
we were,
that we
yeah, all that
were,
we are.
then that would not be anything else. And some people don't understand. You are the gold, the treasure
Hmm. Hmm.
in the temple.
You made me think of this. Yeah, with that scripture that we
We have
always
this
read, we have
treasure
this
in earthen
in earthen
vessels.
vessels. We've always read that scripture and thought of ourselves as the container,
Yeah, yeah,
but we're not the container. We're
right.
the actual treasure.
hmm I understand now that the human side of the emotion soul at funerals and eulogies, it is a great loss for all of us because that's what we call human. But I looked into it in depth and I found out that there, like you said, you had some people in your family just went to funerals automatically just because
Yeah, she just
she didn't know
enjoyed
the people, she just
funerals.
went.
She just enjoyed funerals.
And I've after looking into this, I saw the tears, and every time the tears would come, the memory of that person, physical being, was present, moving with your physical anatomy. And I said,
Mm, mm,
what is this
mm.
mixed into that cries over something that seems like it's going to be a struggle and hard to leave? But I found out that through many experiences that I've had of out of body travel, I found out that I was able to look back at my physical anatomy and not be disturbed with it in my infinite self.
Mm-hmm,
I,
mm-hmm.
I saw it, but
Yeah.
yet, uh, here lately, certain things I see on television automatically break with tears. But then I begin to understand
And
the compassion of
I
God.
think too that a lot of times the tears are shed for the suffering that comes
Yeah,
upon
yeah,
others that
yeah,
are still here,
yeah.
and that's you cry out because of the suffering
Right.
that you see.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not saying you're going to hell or you miss God because you have compassion for that particular being. But the truth of it is,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
waking up to understand the whole story or the whole event
mm-hmm.
brings about a settlement that you can cry, you can go through these emotional things, and still not lose the identity of your true self.
Have you ever cried without knowing that you were going to cry,
Yeah,
in the sense that you didn't really
yeah,
feel like you were going to cry and all of a sudden
yeah,
you just did cry?
yeah.
And that it's the and I think that's the spontaneity of the God life. It's not I'm crying because I'm so torn up and sad,
hmm
but the tears come out of compassion. They just arise.
I had a chance to see Jesus, actually see him, well, you might say in person, but actually see him with tears dripping coming from his
Yeah, I
eyes.
remember you telling me that.
And when I did, I saw those tears suspend itself
Hmm.
between his eyes and the space in front of his face. It stopped in midair. And when it stopped, I could understand that the tears carry something in them that
The
communicates.
story. The
Yeah.
story.
We also studied years ago. There was a man that was put in prison for preaching. I forget his name. It'll come to me in a minute. But he was in prison,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the cell that he was in those days had a
Had a
leak
leak. Yeah. A
in
leak
the
in a.
roof,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he was in bed, and that water was dripping down on his face, and he didn't know what to do. Every time he do something, another one spring up. So it came to him on the drop of water, the last drop. It came to him to command that water to stop dripping on his head, and that water came, that drip came down and stopped in front of his face and held itself there, disappeared.
And this is the thing. We back now. I'll talk about us because
Mm-hmm.
in our spiritual uh, arena,
Mm-hmm.
we were moving steadily moving toward having the ability
Mm-hmm.
to bring that kind of miracle
Yeah, yeah,
all the
yeah.
time
Mm-hmm.
to ourselves and to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But what we didn't understand back in the day was that there is no man that can do a miracle.
Mm. Okay.
In the consciousness of being a man, in the consciousness of being a body and mind, there is no way a miracle can be done.
Okay.
But when there is a movement of consciousness into that knowing of you are more than that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
then another mind, another ability takes
Mm-hmm.
over this humanity
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
does a miracle.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
And then there are times when I remember in our church services where the presence of God was
Mm-hmm.
so heavy.
Yeah. It was so aware of.
So
Mm-hmm.
we were also aware as a group, as a whole, collectively, of a heavy presence of God resting in that room where we were until there were miracles being done without any human intervention.
I studied every evangelist, everybody that I knew that was publicly saying the miraculous was taking place in their services, tent revivals. Uh, these guys were really on a rabbit trail, and I studied every one of it. I talked to a lot of them on the phone, and they all came up with something they either had to do to get it or they was faking it.
Yeah.
So one
Yeah.
time when I was standing in the aisle ministering to somebody, Spirit said to me, "You can turn your," well, they're thinking that I'm giving them information about, leading them on about what's going to happen and what God is going to do for them.
Mm-hmm,
So he
mm-hmm,
told me, he said, "Turn your back to them
mm-hmm.
and tell them everything you see that I'm showing you about
Yeah.
them."
Yeah.
He said, "Turn your back," and I did, and the same thing happened. So at this point in the stage that we're in now, awareness, he's showing me how to do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but with the true identity that does not have to have an egoic audience
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to observe it, to pat me on the back or give
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
it's aeons, it's a word I want to use, to give credit that God is with me. Yes, these signs they said in the Bible follow Jesus, and I would like to see them. But now he's teaching me and showing me how to do the same thing in an effortless effort way.
Not only that, and I'm glad you said it, but he also is teaching the two of us, and I say all of you guys too, how to do it remotely
Yeah,
without being in person.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Because he is, they are,
Mm-hmm.
wherever he is, we are, we be.
Yes.
And he's no different. And Jesus showed that it in the book, as it said,
I
the
like
pool of
yeah,
Bethesda.
yeah. I like what Sinette says. She
Mm-hmm.
says, and Sinette does her healing practice. So she says, when I heal, I just step Sinette aside
Yeah,
and let divinity work through me.
yeah.
So powerful. And Sinette can actually step aside all the time with no time and space.
Now, in the day of classes that I had on teaching this, I call it hitting the switch.
Yep. Yep.
But one of these times you're gonna hit the switch, and the switch is gonna break, and you're gonna be stuck in your true identity.
Well, there and this is the part that really kind of makes you wonder is there are times when I felt very, very human and there were still healings and things taking
Yep.
place.
Yep.
So does it have to be, do I have to have a certain mindset? Do I have to have everything lined up a certain way? Do I really have to step aside? Or now I'm asking those questions because there are times when I did not step aside as Antoinette, and that still happened.
There was a man named Dave Robeson. He crossed over now, but at this time, Robeson came into a service where he had the flu, fully loaded flu, and I think somebody said they almost had to hold him up because he was just that sick. But yet, when he brings somebody up in front of him that had a deaf ear or a physical deterrent, he couldn't use his emotion to enhance his speaking, and yet he laid his hand, just leaned on him and touched him, not deliberately, but trying to keep his balance. And they still got the miracle. They still had the
it
ears
bypassed
open.
him.
It bypassed. So I found out in my research how to bypass. But here it is. Here we back again. We're back home.
We're back home.
We're back home.
Back home.
To walk in the fullness of the Father is to walk in the full awareness of your true identity, your eternal essence.
Even when you're actually absolutely
that's right.
human.
When I looked at this thing, I found out why I went to school every day from the 7th grade or from the 6th all the way through. I never missed a day, whether it was raining, sleet, or snow, sick or not. I went. I got a certificate for perfect attendance. I look back over that. Now I can translate that into perfect awareness, perfect self, perfect essence.
Perfect in our seeing, perfect in our knowing.
And I didn't know it was really Spirit, God, that was going to school.
There you go.
In the form of me, 24/7.
It's the Spirit of God as Sinette that's doing the miracle. So it's coming. We're coming to a place where we don't have to actually step aside.
And the grades that I was getting would qualify me not to be moved to the next.
There you go.
But what was there?
So we're absolutely coming to the place of accepting ourselves, because now we know what ourselves is.
There was a man talking to me out in the front yard yesterday at the garage. He was telling me about where he worked at an auto parts store and how he used to be in a grocery store, a supermarket, and he was the meat man, selling the meat goods. And whenever he was working, he said everybody that knew him bought meat. But when he didn't come to work, they didn't get no business hardly at all in the meat department.
Really?
And the boss man got upset with him, said, "You causing us to lose money because the only time we ever get anything sold back here is when you come to work."
Wow.
And I told him, I said, that is the favor of God. And I told him I would mention that today online because that is, it is a hook in that didn't have to start and stop. But this man, when I stood and looked at him, I looked in his eyes, I said, "To the Lord, I see you."
Yes. I'm going to read just a
Okay,
little
go
bit
ahead.
more here. He says, no one sees him, capital H, meaning God, source of everything, the progenitor, originator of everything,
Mm-hmm.
all that is, the universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. No one sees him except himself.
Mm-hmm.
No one reaches him except himself.
Mm.
No one knows him except himself.
Mm-hmm.
He knows himself through himself, and he sees
Mm.
himself by means of himself.
Mm.
No one but he sees him. His
Oh.
veil is his
Mm.
oneness,
Mm.
since
Mm. Mm.
nothing veils him other than him. His own being veils him. His being is concealed by his oneness without any condition. No one other than he sees him. He
Wow.
sent himself
Yes.
from himself,
Yes.
through himself,
Yes.
to himself.
Yes.
There is no intermediary and means
Ooh.
other than him. There is no difference between the sender and that which is sent, and the one to whom it is sent. The very existence of a prophetic message is his existence. There is no existence to any other who could pass away or have a name or be named. Whoever knows their self knows their Lord.
Woo.
I knew my Lord through my Lord.
Mm.
You are
Mm.
not
Mm.
you, but you are him, and there is no you.
Mm.
It
Mm.
is not that he enters into you, or that
Uh-oh.
you enter into him,
Mm-hmm.
or that he comes out of you, or that you come out of him. What is meant is that you never were and never will be, whether through yourself or through him or in him or with him. You have neither ceased to be, nor are you existent. You are him and he is you, without any of these imperfections. If you know your existence, then you know God, and if not, then not.
That's my case. Now
That's
that book, don't close it. Fold that page. Are you in the process of studying that book now?
I've read it
Yeah.
several
Well, fold
times.
that page right there because I'm gonna use it somewhere in an event. Knowing yourself.
Know yourself.
Show
It's
that. Show that
yeah,
to
I
them.
showed it to him earlier. I'll
Yeah.
show it again.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm. Know yourself.
Now these are the little tokens of things that I'd like to give out
My
to people.
brother-in-law bought that for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sinette said, "I am popping."
You up? What you don't?
I know,
I done
Sinette. I
blowed up
know.
and busted.
I know. So
And
when you walk up to a someone who needs a healing now, Sinette can walk up without even being set aside.
yeah. Ooh.
Ah,
Boy,
my, my,
now
my.
that's juicy. That
Yes,
is real.
yes, yes,
Oh
yes,
God, we could stay on
yes,
this. We could stay in this arena for the rest of the
yes. Type it in.
duration.
Yes, just type it
Yes,
in.
Lord.
Yes, yes, yes.
Get this little book, and it is only something that causes you to what you call what did she say she was
She's popping.
popping?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but in order to read this, your
You got to
your mind
yes,
has to be completely surrendered to what it's reading without trying to figure it out.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
Without
think
trying to figure it out.
this is the only copy we got it at, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah,
brother-in-law bought that for
yeah.
me.
I'm gonna look
Mhm.
it up online
Mhm.
again.
Rupert Spira was the one that introduced it,
Yeah,
and
that is really
yeah,
something.
yeah,
You know, we these little
powerful.
nuggets we call them nuggets.
Mhm. It
Gives
brings you back to oneness, and it brings you out of that separation duality mindset.
wow, I like
Yeah,
that.
it brings you out of
What
it.
do you guys give us a little hint back there on this what we just read? Talk to us about it.
Yep,
Let's go for it.
they're saying amen and yes and
Yes,
wow
Lord. We our time is
and
about gone, but you
yeah,
just
yeah, yes,
dwell on
yes,
this and
yes,
let's go to town with it.
yes, 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 yeah. So we are coming to a point of our
Mm-hmm.
pure seeing,
Knowledge, wisdom.
where there is now not even a
Mm,
separation
mm,
in the
mm, mm.
me that I believe myself to
Mm-hmm.
be and
Mm-hmm.
the me that is not me.
Mm-hmm.
There's that separation is now disappearing.
This is better than a hot dog and
It's
a milkshake.
good. It's
Isn't
good.
this something?
It's good. Yes, yes,
Ooh.
sir. Yes, sir. Look, on that note, I think we could end on that note, right?
Yes.
That's good stuff. Good
Ooh.
stuff.
Ooh, glory. I feel that. Ooh. Feel like I can feel it all in the walls of my soul. Just working.
Yeah, Marie said it's so good.
Yes, Lord.
Hmm
But
hmm
uh oh, I got company, y'all.
Timekeeper just went
I
off.
got company. My buddy just drove up. There she
She
is.
did, and
She
she
came to
is.
talk to me. That's my girl, baby girl Johnson.
She just finished her chicken, so
Oh, she
she's
did. That she
yeah,
come around and
yeah,
talk to me,
yeah.
darling. It's good to see you, Pooh. That's
So
the
I
Pooh,
tell you,
the
this has
baby
been so
girl.
good today.
It
Good
has
to
been
me.
really
It's been good
good.
to me. And yesterday we were talking about this, how that, uh, you know, with the pandemic, when everyone had to shut down their churches and all of this, and some still did not because they didn't want to comply. But in that shutting down period, a lot of people decided they didn't want to go back to a
Mm-hmm.
building, and then
Mm-hmm.
some still want to go back for those sessions and those services, which I'm not against. But we realized yesterday that there are those of you who have chosen not to so much go back to a
Mm-hmm.
building
Mm-hmm.
and to worship or to do your Sunday services. And so now we are here as committed to be your online pastors,
Yes.
um, to serve you, to
Yes.
serve you.
Yes.
Yeah, to serve you.
So we thank you for the love of presence
Hmm
that
hmm
comes with your name
hmm
and with the presence of your statements and responds to what we're talking about.
Yes.
Thank you for the gift of
Yes.
you
Yes.
being the love of God, being the wisdom of God, being the I amness. Thank
hmm
you for the
Thank you.
acknowledging of Christ, the hope of glory in everybody's life in the universe.
Hmm hmm Yes. 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 And thank you so much for being with us today. We I know you got something out of this because you told me you got something
Oh,
out of this.
yes,
So
yes.
thank you so
Woo,
much.
glory be to
Yeah, you
God.
still popping.
Yes, I'm still
We got a
popping.
good laugh in and when
Yeah,
I was
we
saying
did
my
good.
misconstrued
Yeah, yeah,
word.
yeah. You misconstrued. Mm. Well, anyway,
We'll be back on Tuesday, Lord
Tuesday,
willing. We'll
live
be
and in
back
color.
at 7 on Tuesday. Yeah, live and in color.
Yeah, live and in
Yeah.
color.
So you guys
Technicolor.
stay safe, stay
Thank you,
blessed.
thank you, all of you for just your healing is moving inside of all of us, but it is
Mhm.
moving. When I look online, it heals that place of the seeming like I lost a whole lot when things shut down in the brick and mortar. And I'm receiving
Yeah.
your healing essence in my soul and my mind. You guys, thank you so much for the gift of love that is coming through the screen from all of you. Thank you.
I would like to do a monthly Q&A
Yeah, that'd be good.
where we come together with specific questions.
Yeah, I can't promise you will answer them.
No, but to come together to ask specific questions that are related to your freedom and to your seeing, nothing else, just that. If we do the Zoom where we can actually see face to face those that have a question, and actually spend some time
Mhm.
dealing with whatever it is you're dealing with in your coming into this
Mhm.
awakening experience.
Thank you for the love gifts.
So look,
Thank you for the support that you've given us to help keep this broadcast going.
so be looking forward to an email from me for when we're going to do a Zoom and an announcement
Hmm.
for that purpose. And maybe we can do maybe once a month, uh,
Yeah,
once a
we'll
month
work on it.
Zoom
We'll work on it.
for that reason. Usually, when we do a Zoom, we get so excited about seeing each other. We just
Yeah.
don't do anything but talk and yabba, yabba, yabba.
Hmm.
But I would like to make it something specific. If you have questions about where you are in your spiritual journey, uh, and let's talk through some of the issues and
Yeah.
see if we can help each other with that. Okay. So anyway, we'll see you again on Tuesday. We love you. Don't forget to give. Thank you guys for giving to Cornerstone, which with your those of you who are local, we appreciate your tithes and your offerings going directly to the church that you've attended for years. And thank you for not letting that fall away and holding on to
Yes.
giving that to
Yes.
Cornerstone, which is still a virtual
Yeah, we're
church.
still there.
Yeah,
We're
still a
running
virtuous church.
we're
Virtual
running
church.
on the good side with the business. We're running straight
It's
down the
still
middle of the
there, and
road. Yeah.
Laverne is the one who is the administrator over all of the contributions and things that come in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
everything's being done above board, and
That's
there are
right.
still expenses
Yeah.
for the church. So if you would continue to give your tithes and your offerings, we appreciate that on a consistent basis. And thank you so much for your love gifts to Pastor and myself. And
Yes.
of course, if you want to do that, you can see that right there on the screen. Uh, and right now, just go ahead and hit the like button. Hit that
Yeah.
like button wherever
Yes.
you are. Okay. And
Okay.
we love you. We'll see you next time.
See you later.